All right, Coach Lee, looking at this team in Clemson, Scott Shaver talked about, you prepare just like it's any other game. Have you had any trouble with the linebacker core and getting them to, focus on this being another game? Or, has there been thoughts of, this is Clemson, we need to do more?
No, I think my personality is not one that puts a lot of hype into the work. I mean, those guys will be ready emotionally like they are every time they play. I mean, I told them a few weeks ago, actually, just, when I was coaching freshman football and there was 100 people in the stands and, we took the field my first year coaching. I was as juiced for that as anything. So naturally, as a competitor, you're ready to go. I think our focus has just got to be on, precise execution through the week. And really, we need to match their execution on Saturday. Part of the reason you become a great team isn't just because you have great players. It's because you execute at a high level every time you go out there. And that's our focus through the week. So moving forward, those guys will be ready and emotionally ready for the game, and you know that, and they know that. How can we harness their energy right now and focus it on just executing the game plan?
As far as Tajh Boyd and what he can do in the middle of the field, what have you talked to the linebackers about when you see a quarterback like him?
Well, he's got a unique skill set that obviously we're going to look to limit his effectiveness, but it's hard. He's a great player, and I think part of it is great players make big plays, and through the course of the game, you never can get too high or too low at any given time. And if they break a run or he scrambles or whatever the case happens, it's about lining up the next snap with a focus to execute that next snap. And that's kind of the mindset we have. Obviously, we're going to do some things to try to limit his abilities, but it's hard. He's a great player, and you got to take your hat off to him. So.
I want to go back to the Northwestern game, and when the defense is on the field for so long, is it tougher, as a position coach defensively to make sure that these guys have the stamina and what they need to go through that game when the offense kind of isn't helping them out in that case?
Well, I think at this day and age, you better be ready to play a lot of snaps. And, we could execute great. I mean, remember being in the Pac-12 with Oregon. Their defense was on the field a bunch, but they were scoring touchdowns. So, we could be out-tempo on our offense and score a bunch of points, and the defense will be called upon to make a big stop. And so I think there's two answers to that question. The first is I got to be smart with rotations so that we're not pulling guys off the field mid-series. Try to get them breaks through the game where it makes sense, because we have guys in that second group that we trust to do what they need to do. And I think the second part is just, again, in our preparation, preparing for the tempo from a mental toughness standpoint, understanding that, fatigue makes cowardice of us all. So if we can fight that fight during the week, we'll have a great chance of overcoming it on game day.
I want to ask you about that rotation and that second unit, because with Dyshawn Davis, Cameron Lynch, and Marquis Spruill, you have a lot of talent out there, but they're backed up by guys who obviously can produce. What can you say about the second unit and who you have there?
I think the first thing I would just say is that I've been so impressed. Those guys really enjoyed football, first of all. R.C. Nega and Kirkland both had football taken away at some point in their careers. And so they battled to earn the right to play again. And I think that's a pretty awesome feat in and of itself. And so I've been so impressed with their preparation. I tell those guys, and it's true for everyone, every day's an interview. And so what they put on film through the week will kind of judge how they're used on Saturdays. And just been super impressed with their focus through the week. They're focused on game day when they're not out there. So when the number is called, they're ready to go. They know the adjustments we've made. It's been very impressive.
When you see a guy like Marquis Spruill, obviously you weren't here last year or the year before, but he had played middle linebacker, was moved out, moved back in. What have you seen from him, and how has he handled this transition that's kind of gone throughout his career?
Yeah, I think the movement has probably built up his football IQ. I mean, he can see things from multiple vantage points now. He knows what it means to obviously be the Mike, but he also knows what it means to be outside and kind of what the picture is those guys are seeing. And I think that helps him as a Mike linebacker for sure. I think as far as what I've seen from him is just a guy that takes ownership in his leadership and wants to have a great senior year, and he's putting everything he can into it to make sure we keep climbing towards something great.
What do you take away from a guy like Dyshawn Davis, who didn't get to play in the spring as he was rehabbing, but came out in the fall? I mean, how quickly did he catch on to what you're trying to teach?
Yeah, I think he's conscientious, and I can say that about everybody in that room. And all those guys are bought in. I mean, it's amazing. 3 coaches in 3 years, and I come in with some different stuff, and they were so willing and ready to jump in. Dyshawn obviously was hurt by not participating in the spring, but he was a quick study, and he's still learning, he's still growing as a player, but again, I like the trajectory, I like where we're heading.
As far as Cameron Lynch, a guy that we haven't spoken about, had an interception again in the Wagner game and was able to keep anybody from scoring late in the first half. What do you take from Cameron Lynch, who up to this point was a backup, and now he has the opportunity to be a starter in your linebacker core? What has he meant to you, and why start someone like him?
Yeah, Cam is a special young man. He comes from a great lineage, and a great high school program, and those are the kind of guys that you can build around for sure. Cam just needs to be himself out there and trust and have the confidence that he's got what it takes from a character standpoint to be a leader for us. And then he's going to make mistakes as a first-time starter. It's never easy and it's never smooth. But if he can keep growing and learning as we move along, I expect him to really mature into a fine linebacker. I'm excited to see that.
As far as Coach Bulla and also Coach Schaefer, who was a defensive coordinator before, how involved are they with you in designing your schemes or your plans? I mean, is it really you to take it, or is it a mixture of the three?
No, it's Coach Bulla's defense. I mean, from a fundamental and technique standpoint, I'm in charge of kind of laying out the daily plan for linebacker development. But, all that stems from stuff that, I learned from Coach Bulla anyways. I kind of cut my teeth under him as a linebacker coach. So, we devise the game plan and staff, but it's Coach Bulla's defense. So he kind of makes all the hard decisions. Obviously, Coach Schaefer being around certainly will have opinions, and it's fun to sit in there and throw ideas around. And then at the end of the day, my job is to devise a lesson plan that allows the backers to be taught and execute what they need to execute.
When you beat a team like Wagner and Tulane and you do it with back-to-back 50-plus point performances, what do you take from it as a coach? Is it take it with a grain of salt because of the competition that's not quite where the ACC is, or how do you take a victory like that on the defensive end?
You can never take a win for granted. Obviously, this day and age, every team's competitive. And I think if you look at it from the standpoint that you're growing to something, you're working towards your goals, that each game's really a learning experience. So there's always good and bad, even in the losses. You can look at a play and say, hey, this was a great job by you here, and then 2 plays later, this is a missed execution. The point being that you just kind of try to keep a steady course in an upward climb, and if you see progress, then that usually speaks volumes for where you're going to end up as far as achieving those long-term goals you set out to. So we don't ever really put too much stock into a win or loss. Obviously, you want to win, and so if you can win clean, great. If you win sloppy, great. Or if you lose, on the case that you lose, you're looking for those teaching moments and the learning experience from each game.
Did you get those from Penn State and from Northwestern? Did you feel like the core got that?
Yeah, and again, there was some good and some bad. And I think we figure out something about our identity in each game too. Who we are and what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, and you can focus on improving on your weaknesses. And I think that'll come through in every game we play. Wagner, Tulane, same. There's some things we did really well. Other things that we may have gotten bailed out here or there by someone making a great play. That we got to address those problems and make sure the next time we're put in those situations that we're doing right. That's kind of the mantra we take and the mindset we take.
And lastly, when you look at the ACC, do you feel that this core is able to go out, from what you've seen on film and what you know, that at this point where they are, do you think that they're capable of taking on a Clemson, taking on a Florida State? Are they where you want them to be, or are you a coach that's always expecting a little bit more?
Well, look, you're going to line up and compete with whoever they got across from you every game you play. So you're not, never do you think you're not capable, right? Whether we're where we need to be or not, I would say absolutely not. And that's the fun part of it. It's a challenge. You each week look at the things you need to improve. Again, as a coach, you can never be stale as a coach because you always got to find the ways that you can get your players better from a fundamental standpoint or from a technique standpoint, a vision standpoint. or as a coach, how can I become a better teacher? And those moments to learn are everywhere through the week. So certainly we're looking to line up, and we'll compete and with every team that we play this season. But we're never going to be satisfied with where we are from a development standpoint.